Obviously, I would like to thank the St. Louis Media History Foundation and its board of directors for this incredible honor. I am absolutely flattered to be included in a group of incredible broadcasters, many of whom I had the privilege of working with in my years here at KSD and then KMOX. Amazing people. As Carol mentioned, I came here in 1976 and I worked at KSD Radio and I loved it there. Until one day, the station changed ownership and it became All News. I was the music director of an all news radio station. I just didn't see much future there. Fortunately, the late Bob Osborne, the kindest man you'd ever want to know, reached out, and before long, I was part of the KMOX FM family. Now, Bob foolishly asked me from time to time, hey, what kind of ideas do you have for this radio station that might make it better? And I would always pepper him with those ideas, and finally one day I think he just got fed up and he said, look, why don't you just write up a proposal and give it to me and I'll look it over. Unbeknownst to me, he brought it down to the third floor and gave it to Robert Hyland. Bob came upstairs shortly thereafter, mentioning that he had shown Mr. Hyland my report and said, word of advice, Ed, never call Mr. Hyland's baby ugly. And that was pretty much the end of that document, and I thought maybe my career at KMOX FM. Well, fast forward several months later, and in the summer of '81, Mr. Hyland called me down to his office, and of course, quaking, I entered the inner sanctum. And he held up a piece of paper and he said, did you write this? I said, yes, sir, I did. Can you do this? Yes, sir, I can. Okay? And he handed me the keys to KMOX FM, just like that. Absolutely unprepared for it. Scared you know what listen. And I went upstairs and I had to tell Bob Osborne that he was now going to be my news director because I was now the program director. Ozzy, ever gracious, put his arms on my shoulders and said, it's on you now, Ed. How can I help? That's the kind of guy he was. Hit radio was born in a perfect storm. In the early 80s, we caught the wave. Music was fresh again, coming from England, Europe, and America. MTV was the thing back when in the M in MTV stood for music. And St. Louis was aching for a hit music station. In radio parlance, we'd say, there's a hole in the market, and there's a market in the hole. So we tried to fill it. Quickly, hit radio, KHDR, became a sensation. We went from a 3-4 to a 6-8 to an 8-8 to a 10-6 in 40-second books. At one point, between KMOX AM and KHDR FM, we had over 30% of the listening. That's never been equaled, I don't think, in any market in America, in a major market. It was just unbelievable. But make no mistake, KHDR was built on the backs of a dedicated air staff. Bob Scott, who you may know as Dave Lennox, 30 plus years, represented the Lennox Air Conditioning Company. We have Kevin McCarthy, who created a travel program that airs in over 40 markets worldwide. Wow. John Frost, who became one of America's leading faith-based radio consultants. And Casey Van Allen, who did nights, is a media mogul of his own right, owning radio and TV properties at Lake of the Ozarks. Every one of these guys were the building blocks of that radio station. And while they may credit me as the architect of hit radio, I'll remind you that blueprints are absolutely useless if you don't have the right craftsmen building the art. And that they were. These folks built into the mission of hit radio. They worked relentlessly to hone their skills. God knows I was very nitpicky. And they contributed to the success of hit radio in every way possible. They lived our prime directive. If you're a Trekkie, you'll know where I'm going with this one. And it was the needs of the many, our audience, outweigh the needs of the few or the one, yourself. Audience first, always. And we pounded that into them, and they bought it in. They became a band of brothers, and to this day, they still gather every few years just to hang around and reminisce about the good old days. And I would not be standing before you today if not for people who had faith in me long before I deserved it. Tim Dorsey, who was our station manager. Greg Kornfeld, who sold a product he didn't really understand. And Robert Hyland Sr. And I gotta tell you, we knew we had it when Robert Hyland Sr. actually was somewhat willingly giving up pushing the hockey games on the FM station so that we could stay informed. Because every sports overflow went from the AM to the FM. Perhaps my greatest skill was the ability to recognize talent and understand that one can teach ability, but you can't legislate attitude. The legacy of KHTR Radio is the family of broadcasters who lived and breathed our mission. Talented, yeah. But more important than talent, they possessed exceptional character. And together, they built a remarkable radio station that I was very proud to lead. Thank you.